Hi everyone, thank you so much for joining me here today. Today I want to cover dental implant marketing, what actually works. This is meant to be a presentation of the system that we use, some of the principles behind why what we do works, and some of the results that we've gotten. So right off the bat, why should you listen to this presentation? Probably what you're asking yourself right now. Great question. These are some of the results of a campaign that we've been running for a dentist in New York. So if you can see here, this is just a screenshot from Facebook. Over 1,100 messenger conversations of people interested in wanting to learn more about getting dental implants. 60 leads came from this, just under $2,900 in ad spend, coming to just under $50 a lead. This on Facebook for an implant lead is amazing. Very hard to beat, especially on if you were to cross platforms like Google. Messenger conversations starting at $2.49. In New York, if you were to do the same thing with Google, cost per click there can be as high as $22. So think about the way of getting your costs down, reaching the same audience and reaching people that are interested in getting implants. Very impressive. So kind of this is the overview of what I want to share today. We have the principles, we have the system, we have lead capturing and lead nurturing. It's broken down into two different parts there. We have the sales process, and then we have common mistakes. So jumping right into principles, it's really important to give before you get. Very important. You got to think of why someone's coming to Facebook in the first place. You think of someone scrolling on their phone to look at pictures of cats, maybe their friend's wedding. They're not really there to find out about implants or really to do anything else. So it's really important how you approach them, how you interact with them. If you go based straight on offer or price, people are a lot more likely to price shop you, be a lot more likely to be flaky, because that's how the relationship was built. It was built off that offer or that price. Whereas if you can kind of cater to them, cater to the questions that they're already asking in their heads about dental implants or what the process looks like, you're a lot more likely to build that relationship through trust. You're seen as an authority and you're the expert in that region. It's important for all the dentists to focus on what really matters, or the 20%. For those of you who don't know, this is the 80-20 rule, Pareto's principle. Little bunny trail here, but he was a scientist that grew tomatoes. He found that 80% of his tomato plants were growing only 20% of the total tomatoes, and the other 20% of the tomatoes were growing 80% volume of the actual tomatoes, if you will. A little confusing there. Feel free to look that up if you aren't familiar with it, but it's very critical, especially when it comes to dental implant marketing. So you might ask yourself, what is a 20%? Well, for dentists, the 20% is going to be the sales process, what it looks like for someone to come in on that free consult. Focusing on how you deliver that message, focusing on how it's presented is critical. If you can raise even your conversion rate, if you will, as a dentist by just 10%, you can save thousands of dollars on the front end by running ads, because you only need X amount of leads to get a full arch or to get a couple implants. So this is a system from a 30,000 foot view. This is the lead capturing side. We'll get into nurturing here in a little bit. So it starts on Facebook and Instagram. This is where we engage with people. This is where we meet with them and get them to have a conversation with us in Facebook Messenger. So we use a service called ManyChat. This is where we build out chatbot sequence. This is where we can pre-script a conversation related to dental implants, get them to figure out what they're looking for. Through this process, we're able to pre-qualify people. So we find out who the dental implant is for, found out questions related to pricing, kind of pre-frame them on what it's going to be like, how expensive the actual implant's going to be, or how expensive the crown's going to be if you're kind of do the whole process. Another thing we do is we even ask if they're creditworthy, if they have maybe a co-signer or someone that could pre-sign on a loan in order to get that procedure done. This is critical because we're able to really find out if someone's interested in coming in. This allows us to weed out the people that would potentially come in for a consultation, not take it too seriously, and waste everyone's time. Another thing that we do here is we ask for their information. So we get their phone number, obviously get their name, and we follow up with them later. So this is the later aspect, if you will. This is where we get their information. So after we get their information, we give them a phone call, we text them, we invite them in for that consultation. That's where we get them scheduled, and that's when they come in for their consultation. So as a dentist, it's really important to focus on this part, because if you get this wrong, you can bring in tons of leads. You could bring in as many leads as you want, but if you don't have the ability to present or the ability to show the implants in a way that could be compelling and persuasive to someone, then you're not going to make any money. So kind of diving into this a little deeper, it's really important to pre-qualify these patients before they come in. More is better. This is in terms of information. So when we're pre-screening them through the messenger chat sequence, we found that more questions actually increases the quality of the leads. This is because they're more interested. It shows a higher level of intent, but it also really lets us find out if they're interested in coming in. So offering more information in terms of what other prices are out there, what other services, kind of how you fit in the market. That's critical, because if you don't have other prices available, if you don't have other competitors' information alongside yours during the actual consultation, people are a lot more likely to price shop you. People want to know that they're getting a deal. They want to know that you're the best fit for them. So if they don't have as much information about what Dr. Johnny's doing down the street, or B, what the process looks like in terms of, is there a guarantee? Is there something else in terms of financing that they could do in order to get the procedure done? This is information that's necessary to provide, and it's really important that you present it in a way that is compelling. So these are some of the common problems. First and foremost is bad creative. So before we jump into getting the lead, setting up the messenger chat sequence, doing all this, if we have a bad video ad on Facebook, obviously no one's going to click through to the conversation. It's not going to go anywhere. Bad video or picture for that case. So it's really important to have, again, compelling creative, something that actually meets someone where they are in their process to for getting a dental implant. Another thing that is a common problem is poor pre-framing and staging. So in terms of pre-framing, again, I mentioned this in the creative aspect or the creative portion of this, but you really want to separate yourself as the expert in your region. If you don't do this, people are going to, obviously price shop you. They're going to be a little more skeptical, a little more hesitant in coming in, because they haven't built that connection with you that's necessary in order for them to trust you and to get the procedure done. So that's very important. Now, another thing is not having an efficient sales process. So when someone comes in to get a lead, you have to have the free consultation down. You have to have everything, obviously organized plan, but you have to even practice. I would encourage you to even role play some of the conversations or the potential objections you can get when someone's in your office. If you are able to handle those, you understand where the patient's coming from, and you have a conviction and certainty about the procedure that you do. If you know you're the best implant placer in the state, if you know that your work can withstand a test of time, no one's had to come in for their lifetime guarantee, because just about everything you place is on point, and you're obsessed with being a perfectionist in your work, that's going to come over, and that's going to come across in your words. That's going to come across in your certainty about them choosing you as an implant doctor. So it's really important to have not only your certainty on point, but also practicing those common objections that come up in that free consultation. Hopefully this presentation was beneficial to you. If you're interested in us running this exact system for your office, I do have a link in the description below to a 15-minute conversation with me. We'll go kind of into more detail about how we actually run the Facebook ads, kind of the behind the scenes, if you will, and just more about our process. If you're interested in that, feel free to find that in the comment section below. Leave me any comments. If you had any questions, anything that was confusing during this presentation, feel free to leave a comment or even email me. And then feel free to like the video. And until next time, I'll talk to you later.